Welcome to Traders Consigliere Weekly Analysis. We look at the fundamentals and the technicals before the week starts so we can prepare for potential trades and look at important fundamentals. We look at fundamentals first, then we look at the technicals. So we'll begin with the fundamentals for the upcoming week. So for the upcoming week, we have a heavy week fundamentals. So the market possibly will be moving a lot. On Monday, not much going on. Right. On Tuesday, we have claimant count change. This is a gauge on the labor market in UK. This is going to affect the British pound. And what we see is a change of number of people claiming unemployment benefits. And we do see the number drop, which is a good thing because that would show the rate hikes have been working. But inflation still remains extremely high when in UK. On Wednesday, we have GDP with also the British pound, and the GDP is in the negative, showing the economy is contracting. And this is in a way a good thing. If the rate hikes are working, the economy has to go into a recession, right? It's receding. So it is a good thing, but we're going to see what's going to happen. If number misses, comes in the positive or above 0.5%, I think that is bullish for the pound. But if it does come in negative or even lower than the expected forecasted number, we probably will see a bearish British pound. So traders will potentially be taking that next rate hike, if the number is negative, probably a pause or a less aggressive move by Bank of England. And the main thing is the dollar. On Wednesday, we have the CPI, the consumer price inflation. A lot of eyes are on this. That's why I've been monitoring the market the last week after my vacation. So I believe we see a bullish dollar, right? The dollar has been quite resilient, very bullish, and we are expecting a jump in inflation, right, from 3.2 to 3.6%, which is not a good thing, which means the Federal Reserve will be hiking rates and causing the dollar to run bullish, right? So very important statistic. So with the month-on-month CPI and the core CPI, which would be also a very important statistic to look at. So that's why we have a bullish dollar at the moment. Labor market is also quite resilient from the past few data points we've been looking at. Consumers also are positive with the market, which is not a good thing. If the rate hikes are working, consumers are supposed to be feeling pain, right? So still we're gauging on that. On Thursday, we have if you're looking at euro, maybe looking at the refinancing rate, and the monetary policy statement would be very important. That also affects the market, right? Euro is a G10 currency, right? So gotta keep an eye on that. On 4:30 p.m. my time on Thursday as well, we have producer price inflation, right? We have consumer price inflation, then we have producer price. So what are the producers facing when it comes to inflation? And we see the inflation actually has gone up a bit. So has the core retail sales, right? Core retail sales is what a good important number that shows the consumers' retail sales, and that shows that the retail sales have dropped actually. We are at least forecasting for a drop. So let's see what happens here. But inflation, by the looks of it, is forecasted to come in higher, which is bullish for the dollar. Retail sales also drop here on month-on-month basis. Unemployment claims have gone up, which shows the labor market should be suffering, but this is all forecast. We have to wait and see what the numbers tell us, but this all does show as a whole the dollar remains bullish and resilient. China has been a big talk of the fundamentals recently because of the property market, right? Because most of the Chinese residents actually they invest heavily in the property market, and the property market is a bubble in China, and the numbers that have been coming out have been quite disappointing. So when the Chinese yuan weakens, the dollar also goes bullish, right? There is a negative correlation there, so something to keep in mind. And in the last fundamentals for the week, we have Empire State Manufacturing Index, which is your New York Manufacturing Index, is forecasted to come in higher than the previous month, showing manufacturing has been picking up important to look at, and consumer sentiment from University of Michigan, right? Statistics that you can look at on how the consumers are, what their sentiment is to when it comes to the economy as a whole, right? So keep an eye on that. So let's look at the dollar index first, as we are on the topic of the fundamentals. So the dollar has been bullish, right? And the main thing that I've been looking at the last few months, in fact, is this support area at 101, pretty much 101 flat. And what made me hyper aware of this area is when it broke through, but never could find resistance, right? We never found that resistance that could give us a drop below. So what I see is price has in fact taken up all that liquidity, right, faking out all these dovish or bearish US dollar sentiment traders, and has flipped bullish, breaking through these trendline areas as well, right? So we are bullish, and I would be interested to see what price does when it reaches around this area at 103 110.5, around that area. So that's what I'm looking at with the dollar. So let's look at dollar Japanese yen, a pair that I recently added to my list, which is a no-brainer because I trade the British pound dollar and the British pound Japanese yen. So let's look at the monthly time frame first. The monthly is bullish, right? We do see a bullish structure with the monthly, which makes sense with the dollar being bullish, right? On the weekly time frame, we see a nice clean bullish structure towards the top. The last week also closed with a somewhat of a rejection candle towards the buyers having some aggression around this area. On the 12-hour time frame, also remains bullish. We kind of seeing at the moment seeing some form of resistance from here, and I would like to see a pullback. I want to see a pullback around this H12, right, the 12-hour demand zone. And I wouldn't take an entry here. I mean, possibly you could take it if you are a swing trader, but I would recommend for price to see the reaction of what price does at this discounted level of demand, then take a confirmation entry possibly here, which is something I'll update in the Telegram group, right? So join there. But British pound Japanese yen is a bit confusing at the moment, and I'll show you why. We are bullish, right? Technically we are bullish, but the current candle is a bit of a doji, but we can't come to any conclusion yet because we still have a lot of days left in the month, right? So on the weekly though, you see how we had every time we had a push towards every time we had a bullish push and a pullback, then we had a push, it kept slowing down, right? We see a push, we saw a slowdown, now we see a tiny push, now a slowdown. There is a possibility that price can reverse from here. Quite possibly, right? We keep seeing the volume drop off. Look at the doji candles there. On the daily time frame as well, we see price did hit a massive area of supply on the weekly, and since then price has been ranging for the past few days around this area. So me personally at the moment, I don't want to take any trades. I personally would wait to see if price can take off all of these highs around here, all these highs, and can tap into this daily zone where I can possibly take a confirmation entry towards the bearish side. So that's what I'm looking at with the Japanese yen, British pound Japanese yen. No setup yet. With the British pound dollar now. British pound dollar has been bearish, I believe. If you look at the monthly time frame, you see how we had this bullish push. Then now at the moment we are now seeing a push towards the downside. Look at the bi-weekly time frame, also bearish. So we do see how we had this push towards this supply zone on the weekly, and since then we had bearish order flow come in. So looking to take short positions, probably that would be the higher probability short positions. And we do see on the daily as well, bearish, nice clean bearish structure, lower lows, lower highs. So on the 12-hour time frame also, right, clean bearish moves, breaking these lows here. On the 4-hour time frame, so on the 4-hour time frame, I have marked off a supply zone at a discounted area of supply where I would be looking to take a confirmation entry, right? If price taps in here and then gives me a certain confirmation entry, that's where I look to take a short position with a tighter stop loss. So that's a setup on dollar pound, the cable, So let's look at gold. Gold has been choppy, right? And you see how the past 3 months since June, we have been seeing a lot of consolidation. I mean, on the weekly time frame, it's quite clear. Look at this. There's a lot of consolidation. I would like to see price truly break out of this. The first indication that price has somewhat broken off is at this area when it broke these lows. But we still I'm waiting to see if this lower high holds and we can get a push towards the downside. Let's look at the daily time frame. On the daily as well, daily we did have a somewhat of an inverted head and shoulders, but as my bias remains bearish at the moment, I personally wouldn't be looking at this inverted head and shoulders, right? So we do see that price did push, started losing momentum, then we see a push below, and possibly we see this area here break. Once that breaks and we see maybe a clear setup somewhere around here, that's when I will be looking to take a position on gold. So gold at the moment, I don't see any clear setup that's jumping out at me. So I would suggest to join the free Telegram group to be updated with gold if I see a setup. Let's look at SPX, S&P 500. On the monthly, we are bullish, right? Technically we're bullish, but with my bias, with the dollar being very bullish, I am expecting stocks to drop. Stocks, if rate hikes are coming in, we will possibly see stocks go bearish, and we are seeing somewhat of an early indication of it. You see how price has broken through and causing a new lower high possibly. Let's look at the daily now. On the daily, yes, we are bearish, and I possibly would wait for price to do something like give me a push towards the upside here, maybe give me a confirmation entry here, right? And maybe target this demand zone here. This demand zone I've drawn out because I was looking at a long position last week, which kind of occurred. I didn't take it personally when this 30-minute demand was hit, a confirmation entry. But me personally, I would wait for price to come around here at 45.4510. That's where I'll be taking an entry, possibly, right, with a confirmation entry. So let's look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ has the similar setup. Weekly is bearish, right? Just like SPX, they pretty much mimic the same movements. On the daily, pretty much the same thing, right? But the daily doesn't have a supply zone. On the 12-hour, we have a supply zone, and I would wait to see if price can give me a tap in towards this area where I possibly look for a confirmation entry to target this demand zone, right? So that's what I'm looking at, similar setups just like SPX. So to recap everything, let's look at US30. By the way, the reason I kind of skipped over it is because there is no setup also, but I'll quickly go over it. It is bullish, right? Technically it's bullish, but we are starting to see the slowdown happen as well. On the daily as well, it hit a nice clean demand zone where we started seeing price slow down, and possibly I'm waiting to see what happens around this demand zone for maybe counter trend setups, right? Counter buys. So nothing with US30, I would say. Maybe if I see something, I'll update in the Telegram group. So the main setups I'm looking at is dollar, Japanese yen, around this area. Let me also mark off this area quickly, possibly around this 145 750, where I would like to see a confirmation, right? So I'm not going to be taking an entry. I would wait for price to see how it reacts and then take an entry. British pound, dollar as well. I would like to see what happens around here at let's call it 1.26700. So I want to see how price reacts off this area, then take a confirmation entry. SPX as well, same concept. All of them have been confirmation entry. There is no aggressive entries at the moment. 4510, pretty much around this area. I want to see what happens. And the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ would be at 15. Let's call it 15440. Right. So, sorry. Not sure why they deleted, but okay. 15440 0, right? So this is where I want to see price, how price reacts around this area to possibly take sell setups, right? And target possibly this demand zone or maybe new demand zones, which I'll keep you updated in the group. So heavy week this week, I would suggest to be a bit careful. Don't trade, possibly avoid trading on CPI day on Wednesday around that time. So I'll keep you guys updated in the group. So till next time.